This is Gunther here, and today we are doing the reading response for what children learn in media while also in school. So the readings and videos, the readings were Banks, It's Okay to Be Neither, Out Front, Separation of School and Church, Mother Speaks Out, and the textbook readings, which were about a teacher being worried about her students that are lesbian and gay, and she's like the counsel for the administrative on this portion, and I honestly can't remember the other one on the top of my head, but I do have some notes on it. The videos were Mickey Mouse Monopoly and Tough Guys, so let's get into it. So what does the media portray to our kids? Like, when we sit down and watch a movie for, like, a girl, what do we usually put on? We put on a princess movie because, we're trying to teach them to be kind and to be, like women would be traditionally. And that's where the Walt Disney monopoly came in. So what does the media teach us? How girls are supposed to be gentle and caring for their man. How boys are supposed to be the tough guy. Basically, what it's teaching us is that women are supposed to be portrayed as the caretakers of traditional caretakers instead of their own feelings. So they're not allowed to express their own feelings in movies. While the boys show the tough persona. Oh, I've got to always be the warrior and everything. But I don't think that's true. I mean, I will say that not every movie teaches kids this. Now, I was a kid once, and, my parents were a little bit crazy, and went, you know what, at 6 years old, here's a slasher film, and that's my parents. And so, they wanted to teach me more about knowledge. Knowledge when you gain it from the outside world. And I think that incorporates into it, where, this stuff isn't real. And I think when my mom showed me the slasher film, she's like, hey, look, not all movies portray real events. If that was true, I would become a serial killer in an instant. But it didn't. So I really think it's where you grew up and who is teaching you, where the movies teach you. Teach our students how to behave. But the other side of the pie is I watched Star Wars when I was 13, and not 13, sorry, when I was 8, and I was outside just battling with my big brother like you always do. So, who knows? Now let's talk about how kids treat each other. This was the other 6 stories and readings. So how do kids treat each other through just interactions and stuff like that when they're younger? So we have a lot of name calling, and they don't know how, or, not how, but what the words mean. So they're name calling them a bunch of words that they do not know the meaning of, and it's putting the kids down. They are taught through one another to stay away from others that do not match them. So, for example, if there's a kid with a disability, let's not match with them. Let's just stay away from him. We don't know him. He's in a wheelchair. We're standing up. And also, like, oh, that kid is, a little bit, he, plays with dolls, so we should stay away from him and stuff like that. It basically shows that they portrayed that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and there's no equal opposites, and I know that's not true. I knew that wasn't true from a young age because my dad was a seamstress before he became a truck driver, and he used to work at a cotton factory just seaming up some shirts. It was very, it explains so much about, how I view the world versus, a bunch of kids who don't have that relationship, where they don't know that men can be loving and caring and can do womanly jobs. Traditional womanly jobs. Let me rephrase that before I screw up. Traditionally women jobs, and so they start name calling them and shunning them away, just like I was. And then shunning kids who do not agree with them. They put kids down. So, like, oh, you like playing with, dolls, and you like making all these arts and crafts, and you're a boy. You're supposed to be the tough guy. You're not in this group. Get out. And I think these articles spoke a lot to me, because I was bullied when I was very young, because I was the shy one. I was the one who just had a lot of emotion. And for a man in this world, you're supposed to be, I'm tough. I don't show emotion, And that's what we teach our kids every single day. But I believe with the right viewings, we can teach our kids better. So what can teachers do? There's a lot that teachers do, but I'm going to shorten it down so that way this video doesn't come like too overbearing. Like, there's a lot of things that teachers can do, but what are they allowed to do and what they can do are two different things. So in one of my classes in kindergarten, we openly talked about gays, lesbians, and queers as being people of family. And what I would say, we didn't say the words gays, lesbians, or queers, but we would explain what they were. So, for example, we had two men fathers, and they, had an adoptive son, and that's called a family. And, here's two girls coming together, and that's called a family. And so it expresses the idea now that, oh, we can love another man and still be okay. It explains that women and men can like the stuff that the opposite sex traditionally likes and does. So, a good example for this is one of my RAs, Kevin. I call him Kevin, because he's close to Kevin, as I think. But his spelling is close to Kevin. But anyway, he is gay. He likes sewing, and we attract so much because I like sewing. And we talk about fashion and stuff like that. Even though I don't like fashion, we still talk about it. Like, we talk about, oh, how does that vibrant color make you feel on that girl? How does those boxer shirts look? Do those fit the appraisal of what you're trying to do? And so when teachers explain to women and to young women and men, boys and girls, stuff like, oh, well, do you know that a bunch of rock stars wear makeup? And the boys are like, oh, yeah. Do you know that a lot of rock stars wear nail polish? Oh, yeah. Do you know that girls play with Legos? Oh, yeah. And you get that sense of, well, it's an object and not a descriptor. And teach to be more socially accepted because of their sexuality, religion, or gender. I think a lot of it is happening now, but I know that I never talked about this in like middle school or high school because it was openly accepted that, hey, you know, it doesn't matter if you're, because I was in a poverty rich school, everybody knew they were there because they were the last resort. And so they were like, okay, well, let's put aside our differences and we can bond together. And I think that makes it more impactful. A lot of these schools that are more like rich, if like a poor person comes in, it's gonna affect, they're gonna look at them and say, oh, well, he looks like the F word or something like that, where they will start to criticize him because the way he looks, the way he acts, the way he talks, and stuff like that, to the point where it gets harder and harder to discern with the kid because now they feel emotional trauma. And remember that high school and middle school are the two emotional points in a child's life. They will break down about anything. I'm going through that with my sister right now. Sister, what's wrong? What's wrong? Timmy broke up with me. How long y'all been dating? A day. You know, that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, it's okay, you know. It happens. Just stand yourself up and keep going throughout the day. You can do it. And I think that's what we need to be teaching our children. We need to be teaching our children to respect, but also to accept, you know, that people are different genders and people are different people and people like different people. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about for this reading response. The question I have, what else should teachers do to honestly openly discuss about, you know, here's a mommy and a mommy couple or something like that in like early grade levels, so that way children don't approach these what are called stereotypes of traditional men and women gathering. Anyway, have a nice one. Bye!